Make sure you don't miss a thing. Go to starzology.com/newsletter and sign up. Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I am your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Arwynne O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here again.
So nice to have you once more. Now, normally we'd plunge straight on into our episode, but this week we just had some reader feedback we'd like to share with everybody.
Absolutely.
And so we this is about our first house episode that went out a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it was an incredibly popular episode.
Yes.
And no surprise. I mean, the first house is the first house. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it's got that association with the ascendant, which is a really fun point. Is it?
Yeah.
So
I think everyone kind of resonates with this, but
for sure.
so we've just got some comments, and we're just gonna. I was just gonna read them for us, just to share with you guys the sort of thing that they're receiving from our listeners.
Yeah. So one of our listeners, who is just a big fan, says she loves it when the Starzology podcast comes out. She says, I get home from the gym, make a pot of tea, and take a look at certain charts as you go through the info. I just love that the First House podcast was longer. It's so interesting listening to you two.
Wow.
So that's a delight, and thank you,
Yes,
dear
and
listener.
And it was one of our longest so far, actually.
It was, yeah. And it just breezed by, I think. It wasn't a slog.
No.
We were just, wow, couldn't believe it was that long.
Yeah.
We love that too, when it just, when it clicks like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, another comment was, well, actually, this one was from one of our super fans, and it was in response to how we talked about how the first house really represents the situation around your birth,
Right.
and we talked about my grandmother and how she held her breath until her ascendant would be in Aries, or that's how she looked at it after getting into astrology later in life. And this person responds by saying that their mother had an ectopic pregnancy when they were born, and eventually their foot was being constricted by the fallopian tube somehow, and that the circulation was being cut off, and they were barely able to kind of get out safely, and the mother had to massage the foot several times a day after this person was born, and it took like 3 months until it was back to normal after the person was born. And this person has the moon and Venus, but specifically Pisces rising. And so there's this watery uncertainty, and also the mother had some extreme arguments with the doctors over the course of the pregnancy, and really had to kind of fight to keep the baby, and we're happy that everything worked out. But yeah, the state of the first house is really an interesting fraught tale when you kind of get into the story. Sometimes.
Yeah, to me it would have sounded more like it would have been the cord that was right around the foot, but anyway.
Maybe there you go, yeah.
Maybe that way. And also it's the foot, and of course it's Pisces, so...
Well, that's exactly it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly.
But this shows the actual events occurring around your birth. So
exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into this episode, and we're still on houses. We're going to be now doing the 9th house, which is a house which I still can't believe we haven't done, but this, we're over 2 years. I forgot to mention that last time. We've been doing this particular suite of podcasts for over 2 years now. We're coming up to 175 episodes, and still we haven't got to the 9th house, but yet here we are today.
Exactly, here we are. Yay, so the 9th house.
Yeah. So I've got some ideas on some of the affinities that go with the 9th house. We can have a chat about those and just see what's going on there.
Excellent.
So one of the first affinities I have about the 9th house is actual expansion.
Yeah.
Now, this really has to do with the hook in that Jupiter is the natural ruler, but it's a place where it's expansion of the mind, the spirit, and your place in the world. Yeah. I would like to say it like that. It's a place where you learn things, through things like higher education.
Yeah, and foreign travel.
Yeah.
And there's this connection with the law and philosophy. Yeah. Sort of all of these higher educational lofty pursuits that would have been considered sort of an ivory tower thing or a college,
or only for the senior people in the clerics and whatnot.
The
back
clerics,
in the day.
Exactly. The monastery class back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always picture. Now I can't remember the name, but it's not ephemeris, but it's something like that. sort of the guy in the ivory tower, not Galileo, one of those guys.
I don't know.
My mother's probably screaming at the podcast right now because she knows exactly who I'm talking about. But yes, the guy in the ivory tower who is just only too happy to be there with his books.
Yeah.
The Hierophant in the tarot deck.
Right.
Yeah.
Tricky word that, I got to say.
Hierophant. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, totally. that's one of the things. So it's a place of expansion.
Yeah.
And extending yourself.
Yeah.
So that's one of the themes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then I'm thinking about legal matters, which you alluded to.
Yeah.
So this is particularly involving judges or higher courts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's where you are technically being judged by the judge. Guilty, not guilty, or,
Right. Or if you're a gladiator, thumbs up or thumbs down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you are being judged, and it's also can be a place where you judge yourself too. So depending on the planets there. But if you're someone who perhaps spends times in courts for whatever reason, you are likely to have planets there in that ninth house.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm thinking also someone who is attracted to either foreign lands or people from other countries.
Yeah.
People who end up spending a lot of time overseas or being really influenced by people from other cultures and being influenced by other cultures and surrounding themselves with people who are of different backgrounds and different diversities.
Mm-hmm.
and
well, they say, don't they, travel broadens the mind. It's the same thing. You visit other cultures and you see things differently.
Yeah,
because if you never leave your hometown,
right,
it's a very narrow view.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So maybe placements in the ninth house might indicate a world traveler or someone who is super interested.
Yeah.
In
traveling.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do you have anything in your ninth house?
I have no. I have nothing.
No, neither do I.
No.
The
reason I sort of stumbled over that is because in some house systems, my 8th house Saturn jumps over into the ninth house.
Oh,
but
okay.
We are strictly Placidus house girls.
Okay.
So that is not a thing. I own that 8th house Saturn, and yeah.
Okay, well, that's great. Yeah. So one of the other features of the ninth house is faith and traditional religion.
Yeah.
So whereas we spoke about spirituality was in the 12th house, this is now faith and traditional. It's where you see God.
Right.
Or the traditional faith or religion that you were born into, because some people may change, others may not. And whatever religion you were born into is going to be reflected by this ninth house. And if you have multiple planets there, you are likely to tinker with other religions or try them on for size.
Yeah.
But personally, I too have nothing in my ninth house, and I'm still the religion I was born with. And it's never occurred to me to even look at the others. So, yeah. So I don't know where you stand on that.
Well, I've got the South Node in the ninth house.
Okay.
That is one thing I do have, and that doesn't show up on typical charts because you just see the North Node.
Yeah.
But I do have the North Node in the 3rd house, so opposite that would be the ninth house South Node.
Okay.
And I had a reading one time with an evolutionary astrologer who interpreted my 3rd house, 9th house nodes as being indicative of a previous life as perhaps someone in a nunnery or in the priesthood. Right, yes, with all those vows of celibacy and solitude and poverty. And one of the quotes that I've loved, and I've quoted it over time, but I don't know who said it, was that a mantra you can say to yourself is, I renounce any previous vows of celibacy or poverty I may have taken.
Yes.
And to move forward and relinquish those. So and it's interesting that sort of solitary, priesthood or nunnery sort of studious lifetime in the past, however that manifested itself, then it gets channeled into speaking and communicating in a localized way, like being a podcaster or a blogger or a communications professional, of which I am all three. So bringing all those lofty thoughts and philosophies and boiling them down into something that is
easily digestible.
Yeah.
Because exactly. this is a feature actually we both have, if you recall. This is one of those features where, so bringing this, I'm not calling it baggage, from the past life, this faith, religion, and the feeling that...
And world travel for you.
Well...
Right.
Kicking and screaming, yes. Kicking and screaming.
It still counts.
I suppose it does. I do not live near my place of birth and haven't done for a million years. And I will never go back there. But the coming forward, I was brought up, I came from a family that was, I wouldn't say deeply religious, but we knew which side of the fence we were on, let's put it that way, And it's kind of, interesting.
Yeah. and boiling that down to like a personal philosophy that is practical and meaningful in a third house way, which is much more personal and private, but yet also kind of communal. But not in a...
We're not shouting it from the rooftops.
No, we don't want to be a guru. We don't want to be...
No, or lead a retreat or
preach, the
be
gospel.
A shaman or something, yes.
No. But we want to...
But I could see you in the role of someone cloistered there and...
Yeah. Married to God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, but this is it. So, and it's how you see God or your faith or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another feature of the ninth house is publishing. And this is the only house that has actually an occupation in it, which is crazy. Because back in the day, the only people who published anything were when Gutenberg created his machine. Before that, it was the scribes. Right. It was the well-learned men, if you will, who could write out copies.
They were mostly in the monasteries.
Yes, writing away. Yeah. And but of course today it still rules publishing. So if you have planets or points there, publishing is going to be part of your life too, and you can lean right into that with that South Node as well, right?
Yeah, totally. And finding a way to make it a personal thing too, as now you can self-publish.
And I have, yes.
Exactly.
It's there's no end to the not only things like this podcast or even the bloggings the blogs that we do. We both do them. We both put things out there, but it's not in your face stuff. I don't think we're just spreading. Dare I say, we're spreading the word. What are we?
Spreading our own word. Yeah.
Spreading our own word and sharing our view of the world.
Yeah.
And if you like it, that's great. Then it's for you. And if not, move on. Right?
Yeah. Totally.
So we're not there banging through it. But in general, back to publishing. So it's all to do with publishing. It's through like self-publishing or literary agents, publishers, anyone who's actually publishing books, working at whoever publishes books these days, and things like that. Yeah. So this is also associated with broadcasting and promotion to get the message out to a wider audience. Yeah. And it does come back to those early Bibles with the guys scribing them out.
The scrolls that they... like the Library of Alexandria, when we picture that, it was mostly these scrolls of parchment and
papyrus and
exactly, not bound. I mean, some of them were bound book type things, but they were handwritten on papyrus and vellum and
some
things.
Some have remained, and even you see this. This is why we know more so much about the Egyptians, because they carved in stone.
Yeah,
although it took us years to interpret it,
translate it. Yeah.
But
thank
again,
you, Napoleon, for that.
Oh, was it him? Was it?
Well, not him, but it was some of his scientists who he dispatched to the Middle East and to Egypt, and he offered up a reward to whoever.
Is that so?
Yeah, he was. Well, there were two factions that actually kind of decoded it right around the same time. It was one of those weird things like Darwin discovering the theory of evolution, and there was another guy who was right on his heels. These things always kind of happen that way. Like there's just a time.
The time is right.
The time is right, and then there's a few. The decoding the genome and all these things. It's always like a race to the finish, and now we know more because it's publication. But back then it was just like, oh my God, there's someone getting close, and there's rumors about it, and but it was Napoleon who sort of funded that expedition to
the Rosetta Stone as well.
That came into
Yes. But I do think this publishing thing comes in because even though you and I both have this South Node only. You have published books, I have published books, and we continue to publish blogs and put our stuff out there. But it's not what I do every day. No. Yeah. But anyway, so that's one of those things. Publishing is there too.
Yeah.
And then travel. We did kind of speak about this. So this is long distance international travel.
Yes.
And if you remember our third house story where we're talking about how far can a horse go in a day,
Yes.
which I did double check on, and the answer is show me the horse. But generally, so if it's a young and fit horse, it definitely can do 50 kilometers in a day, which I think was 32 miles or something.
Yeah.
And so now we're in the 9th house, so it's travel further than a horse can go in a day. So anything past 50 kilometers or 32 miles, if that is the actual translation.
Stagecoach or a train.
Yes, right.
A plane.
Yeah, and anytime you cross an international border, it's a 9th house travel experience.
Yeah.
So when we go to the States and when we go to Mexico and whatnot, that's 9th house. But when we just go down the road to Whistler, I don't know how far that is, but that's then a 3rd house travel thing.
Yeah.
So again, I don't have many planets in my 9th house. I'm not much of a traveler.
Yeah.
But actually one of my daughters has 3 planets there and she is never home. It's like
amazing.
Every quarter she's going somewhere. I cannot keep up.
That's awesome.
And we've said she's the traveler in the family, but she's got all these planets in the 9th house.
That's very cool. One of my favorite people in the world is one of our best friend's girlfriends, and she is from Japan. She lived here for several years. They met at work together and fell in love, and since then she's had to go back to Japan to renew her visa, blah, blah, blah. But he went and visited her for like 6 weeks, and she's going to be coming back as soon as possible. But I just checked her chart, and sure enough, she has Uranus and Jupiter in the 9th house.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So international love story, international travel.
Yes.
And
Wow.
Yeah.
It's it's very interesting. It's one of the 9th house is a house which got so much stuff in it.
Yeah.
As well. So with this travel, I've got some thoughts on this. So we are talking about extended travel. So this is like, Death on the Nile and the Orient Express and all those things. So it depends on the element on the cusp of the 9th house, how you travel. So if you've got Earth on that cusp, you're likely to travel by train. And if you've got air on that cusp, you're likely to travel by air. Obviously, if you've got water on that cusp, you're likely to travel by ship. And then if you have fire on the cusp, I'm saying you're likely to travel by hot air balloon. So
or steam
maybe, but something with fire going on.
Something with fire. Or maybe a motorcycle.
Or one of these rockets and things like that,
For sure.
Yeah. And this is with this travel there, you've got this being open to global cultures, foreign languages, and anything that's cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
That widens your worldview. And this is great. And we, many people we used to work for a company once, and they had a person called a visionary. He was the visionary for the company. Ooh. And he had to look ahead. And this is a 9th house thing. It's where you can envision something happening.
That's a good title.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a great job being the visionary for McDonald's
not
or something?
Not for me, but for someone.
For others. So that it's to do with being able to visualize what would it be like if I did this? What would it be like if I did that?
Yeah.
And even if you can't travel to Australia and Hong Kong and whatnot, you could even like cook their food and immerse yourself in their cultures in those ways.
I wonder if that's similar to like the job title of evangelist, because that's a popular one.
Oh.
Yeah, there's
it's
probably similar, but with a bit of the 3rd house plug-in where they're
well, it's teachers and preachers, isn't it? In there, teachers and preachers, yeah. And then the final comment I have on the 9th house is one of the main themes is your life's journey.
Yeah.
So this is the house that talks about your physical, mental, and spiritual journey in this lifetime.
Okay.
So it's likely to reflect the vision you have for your future and what gives your life meaning. So it's the road you choose, the path you take, the quest you go on.
Interesting. So if you don't have any planets in that house, look to the character of the sign on the cusp, as we say always.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in your case, that would be a Cancer, the moon.
Yes.
She said, looking at Arwynne's chart. Do you not like the look of that? Okay, then.
Oh, gosh, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, crazy.
Crazy.
Cancer.
So life's journey is close to home.
Yeah, I guess so. I've been
family.
The reason I moved so much in my childhood was because my mother was very fond of moving around a lot. And
yes.
We moved around the U.S. a lot, but never outside the country. And, obviously Canada and the U.S. are very close. But when I finally moved up here, I haven't traveled internationally since then, except to go back to the U.S.
No.
I want to, but and
yet we know you're living close to your birthplace.
Oh my gosh, that's just a weird coincidence.
It's like 100 meters out the window.
Yeah, the hospital where I was born is literally like 2
unbelievable.
blocks. So it's very close. Yeah. So the diagram of my entire life would be like in a big circle back to.
But as an adult, your choice was more to. That was your mother's choice as a kid. There's not much you can do about that. But then as an adult, you tend to Cancerian things.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting, you know. It's,
it is actually.
Yeah. And my cusp is their Pisces, so I don't know what to tell you about that.
Huh.
Yeah. I live near the water. Yeah. And travel near it. Always have. I was born at the coast as well.
I do love to live near the water. Absolutely.
Yeah. But this idea of life journey is one that I like to tap into with my clients to show people that. So this is a house that you don't always use because you're not always tapping into it because it's cadent. And the planets in here are, what we said, pause, waiting for you to stimulate them, as it were. But the direction you go in life can so often be shown through that 9th house. And if you don't have planets there, of course, look to the ruler of the 9th house. But then as transits come through every year, this is when you are likely to take a different, perhaps a path, or you come to a fork in the road, or what is your life journey? Should I do this or should I do that? And it doesn't happen all the time, but when you get those kind of decisions of saying, where are you going? Where do you want to get to?
Yeah.
And it's not really just physically, it's mentally and knowledge-wise as well. What do you want to achieve? And would this be through higher learning, going for that diploma? Look at your mother, going for her PhD, good Lord, at her wonderful age.
Yes.
You know, she's an example to everyone. You know?
My gosh, yes, absolutely. She's
yeah. So anyway, so this life journey is the road you're taking, and it's all about. Never mind what your parents said you should be. Never mind what your peer group says you should do. It's about, in your heart of hearts, what do you want to do with your life?
Right.
Do you just want to live quietly in the suburbs and bring up your children? Or maybe have a farm, or maybe not have children, or just live as a nomad. And it's your choice. And this is the life journey. Yeah. Rather than saying, my parents said I should be a doctor, society says I need to do this, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And you need to do this to make money.
Yeah, you got to pay the rent. And I know we all have to do that. But in your heart of hearts, this is your 9th house. What would you like to do in this world?
Yeah.
And, you know, through knowledge or teaching, who would you like to teach something to? And what would that teaching be if you could?
Right. Yeah. Totally.
So
that's really great.
Yeah. And it's just one of those great things. It's a great feature in a chart because people don't always think about it because they're worried about my job, my family, my relationships. But this is something different. This is something that it's a luxury, I think, to use the energy of the 9th house because it's once you've got past, what was it, Maslow's the hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
You got your food, you got your roof. You can pay the rent next month, and then you might consider using this 9th house.
Yeah.
So
it's towards the top of the pyramid.
Yes. The self-actualization is coming through. So what would you like to do?
To become a better person, to become more learned, to become more well-traveled, to become more cultured.
And
broaden your horizons.
Broaden your horizons.
Your mind.
Learn another language, blah, blah, blah. And things like that. So that's a super interesting thing in the 9th house.
Yeah, I'm thinking in the Big 5 personality test, it may be the openness,
I don't know that.
Yeah, it's one of the corporate world things.
Okay.
But openness to new experiences.
Well, open, it's the key word there, isn't it? Yeah. So it's a great house.
Yeah. And one of the people, interestingly, who I've been kind of browsing through all the people's charts I know to see who has stuff in the 9th house. One person I know who was born in Russia and moved here when he was in his early teens.
Yeah.
And has since gotten jobs where he is traveling, several times a year and going away for the weekend to different conferences and traveling for his job and setting things up in different countries, different provinces all over the U.S. And then traveling also for pleasure and spending, weeks away. And he has the sun, Venus, and the moon all in the 9th house.
And he's at home doing it as well.
Totally.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's I don't have it, so it's never occurred to me to think, let me plan my next international vacation.
Oh, and also, interestingly, this person that I was just mentioning has a ton of friends who are all from different countries, different walks of life, different ages, different cultures, and every time he has and he does this quite frequently, a couple times a year, has parties at his, a birthday party or Christmas or whatever, and has people bringing all these dishes, and so it's just this wonderful
international cuisine. Yeah, you see.
Yeah,
it's
very, very ninth house person. Yeah,
it's very interesting to come across people like this because and it probably has a life journey as well that you can tap into or dig out at some point. Yeah, yeah, great. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the planets then when in the ninth house and satisfy our listeners who've got their charts in front of them. So it's always a great thing. Always a great thing. So with the sun in the first house, I'm suggesting you travel to find yourself. Mm-hmm. So exploration of the world is for you, yourself. It's
part of your identity, part of your character.
It's your heart of hearts.
And you use it to better yourself as a person.
Mm. It's a great place to, and of course you could say travel, you could say philosophy, you could say religion, to find yourself.
You love collecting information, you love collecting people from different walks of life and introducing them to each other and creating like a kind of a network or your own little plaza of nations.
Yes, your little UN.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think that's quite a powerful position, and these are definitely the travelers for sure, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the moon in the ninth house, I'm suggesting home belongs in faraway places. What are we saying? That you can make your home wherever you go?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Or you feel maybe if I moved to Vietnam, I would feel at home there. Maybe you would, or to wherever, Brazil or whatever. I'm thinking of countries' names here now.
Yeah.
Because you can make a home where you go.
Yeah.
So,
and everyone who you meet who is from a different culture, you can bring them into your home, and it enriches your sort of. It's like you have an international family. You can create a family of people who are kind of displaced and expats, as they say, and create your own little home.
Your own little home away from home.
Yeah, and also probably probably a good library or a good affection for foreign foods.
Yeah.
And different.
Or foreign cooking.
Exactly. Foreign cooking.
I bet they own a wok and things. And I mean, I've got a frying pan and that's the limit of my cooking, right?
You gave me an excellent frying pan one time, but we still use it.
So I don't need it. In fact, I probably don't need the frying pan I have. Okay, so let's have a look at Mercury in the ninth house. And I'm saying language is a doorway to truth.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
So foreign language, being able to understand, foreign languages, even speaking them, understanding them, reading them, going to foreign films. And this is not just regular languages. This position is about learning weird languages like coding languages and Klingon and Braille. So all of that is Mercury in the ninth.
Yeah, sign language.
Yes.
Yeah.
Things that you wouldn't normally consider just French or Italian or something.
Yeah.
So
I had a friend who, weird. She wanted to be a flight attendant all her life. That was her dream. And she went to one of these they have these, sounds hilarious. It was about 20 years ago. They had these casting calls for flight attendants for, I think it was Air Canada. I don't want to, whatever. It was probably Air Canada. And she walked in and there were like 150, mostly women, a few men. And, but the big thing was that you had to be bilingual, no matter what. It didn't matter what language it was, but you had to at least have 2 languages under your belt. And she did not, even though she's Canadian and, English and French are the national languages. So she wanted to learn sign language because that's considered a perfectly legitimate second language. And she thought, well, that's perfect. I want to, master sign language. That was what she went after.
It's with your hands, isn't it? Mercury.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing.
So cool.
So if people with this, they can speak multiple languages. What do you call them? Polyglots, is that?
Yeah.
Something or other?
Polyglot. Yeah.
I don't know if that's someone who speaks multiple languages, but certainly your friend you're talking about earlier perhaps has Mercury in this ninth house and has a couple of languages under his belt. I mean, I don't know about you.
If nothing else, at least maybe a coding language or 2.
Yes, exactly. HTML, but yeah.
That's one of the ones I speak, but it's a dead language almost now.
Well, yeah, but
almost.
Do you have a second language up your sleeve?
I don't.
No.
When people ask me that, I jokingly do say HTML, but it's getting less and less funny as the years go by. It just makes me sound old now. Someone saying C++ or COBOL.
Oh yeah, or Python is
Python,
the one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. But when we talk about as transits go through, I recently had a transit going through here. Well, as we speak, we'll get to that. And this is when I started last year, learning Arabic. And it's so difficult.
It's so amazing.
So difficult.
So beautiful, though. Oh my
well,
God.
yes. And I like the symbology of it.
Yeah.
I like the symbology of it. And but learning the alphabet is really as far as I've got so far. And until I have to get really, I think, a professional lesson, I won't get very far on my own. But I'm not at my limit of what I can learn by myself. And I've got my books and my notebooks, and I can show you them later. But anyway, it's like I can now write my name in Arabic, which is a step forward.
Wow.
So, and that is because I've got a certain transits going through my 9th house at the moment, and they're triggering all this stuff. So, yeah. Who knew? I mean, I spent 4 years doing French, and I've got nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. No, I spent 2 years doing French and 2 years doing Spanish in high school, and I can barely.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I learned more from Dexter's laboratory. Omelette du fromage. That's as far as I've got.
Piso mojado. It means wet floor in Spanish.
There you go.
Yeah. The important things.
Yes, clearly. Okay, so Venus in the 9th house. Yeah. I'm saying this person is in love with the world.
Yeah.
Giving the world a hug.
Yep.
Loving all that the world has to offer, all that foreign people have to offer. They don't see the foreignness of it.
Yeah. Yeah, they want to embrace it and bring it into their home and bring it into their life.
Finds beauty in other cultures. And this is the person whose art is like, I don't know, Ming whatnots and Australian Aboriginal art. And it's that sort of art, because it's Venus, that they are appreciative of and knowledgeable about.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the planets there. So, I mean, if I said to you, what's your most, what art do you have that's foreign in your home? And we're struggling, right?
Well, actually, to be honest, yeah.
Yeah.
I got a lot of my own art and some local pinup artists. And,
yes. The most foreign art I have is the Inuit art over there, but that's not even not Canadian.
I do have a lovely African giraffe mask.
Oh, you do?
It was a gift to my partner from someone who was visiting the hotel where he was working. And they were there for a conference, and they were leaving, and they didn't want to stuff it into their suitcase and possibly break it. Yeah. It's this lovely wood-carved, tribal-looking giraffe mask. And he brought it home and was like, you want to put this on the wall? And I'm like, yeah, that's so cool.
Hanging it. Well, it's like the Maasai mask, but that's shield. That's from Kenya, but that's another story. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that artistically, and as we lead into art, I'm not saying, yes, I'm collecting this period of that foreign art.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't see it that way. No. So, and I don't know if you do too. Yeah.
For sure. So
then we get to Mars in the 9th house. So here I'm saying fights for truth and justice.
Yeah.
Isn't this, these, Sylvester Stallone, was that what?
Judge Dredd? Really?
Judge Dredd, 9th house.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Fighting for truth and justice, and I'll be the judge of that.
I am the law. Yeah, I can't believe we're quoting Judge Dredd. That's amazing. Wow.
Is it? Well, it's just so old, right?
No, it's just like so random.
Well,
out of all those Stallone movies, but I mean, honestly, that's probably one of my more preferred movies of his.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're a bit more of a movie buff than I am. I just sat passively while the science fiction kept coming on.
Actually, probably he didn't do a lot of science fiction, so that's probably why I like that one. He did a lot of just weird grunt action.
Not the boxing one, but that one,
Yeah, the boxing one.
I'll be the judge of that. And people who say that, I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, totally.
Interesting, yeah.
And all these judge shows, like Judge
Judy and the Night Court.
Oh, I used to love, Law and Order. God, who doesn't love Law and Order? Give me a break.
Yeah,
who doesn't go into a hotel room the minute they get into the hotel and just try to find the Law and Order channel because it exists? Oh my God, I was watching this other show, Hacks, the other day. You don't have to, talk about. Anyway, it's a fun show. But there's this one scene where the girl is in her hotel room and she's talking to this other person who's at home, And she says, "Oh, I'm just sitting here watching SVU," and the other lady's like, "What channel?" And so immediately, and I was just like, "Yes, someone finally acknowledged that the minute we get into a hotel room, we're watching Law and Order, because that is a thing." Yeah. Anyway,
so Jupiter in the ninth house. Mm-hmm. The world is your classroom.
Yeah.
So Jupiter thrives in this position. Absolutely, this is the eternal student of life, seeking meaning through travel, philosophy, and religions, or general, open-mindedness. It's one of those, it's a great, this is the hot air balloon person, isn't it? Well, I'm traveling, I'm not sure where I'm going, and I'll see you when I see you.
Yeah, and wanting to be well-read, wanting to be well-traveled, wanting to expand their horizons and expand their mind, and to encompass all the knowledge they can. And going back to the wonderful girlfriend of my friend, who is in Japan now, when they first got together, he had all these movies he would continually quote, because he's, kind of similar to me, but like a little bit younger, a couple, maybe a decade younger, but has all these movies that he quotes all the time. And if you think I quote movies a lot, oh my God, if I misquote a movie, he'll look at me like, "What are you talking about?" And I'll be like, from whatever movie. And he's like, "Oh, you mean," and he'll quote it correctly. And I'm like, oh my God, fine. So yeah, he's that guy. He's that guy, but he's amazing. And when they first got together, I guess one of the things they did was go through like all the movies that he thought she should see to be a well-rounded person.
Oh my Lord.
And she kept a list. And so one time she was at our place and we mentioned some movie, and she gets out her phone and she's like, writing. And I'm like, "Are you writing that down?" Because I write down recommendations that people, I have a little note thing in my phone about books and movies that people recommend. Okay. And so I thought maybe she just did the same thing. And she goes, "Oh yeah, these are all the movies that our friend wanted her to see." And so she was just checking the list to see if it was there. And I'm like, "Can I see the list?" And so she shows me the list, and I'm like, "That's a good list." Yeah, well done. Yeah.
Wow.
I couldn't agree more. But yeah, she's got Jupiter in the ninth house. So just wanting to absorb all that knowledge, whether it's, from all the cultures, from all the decades, every generation of whatever, just wanting to have all that in your mind, in your bag of tricks, so to speak.
Well, a lot of professors who are professors have this kind of placement where they're just so knowledgeable and they're just teaching others. Yeah. Right.
And I mean, having a YouTube channel where you just disseminating knowledge and then just letting the flock come to you. I mean, Joe Scott, one of my favorite podcasters, YouTube channel, and he talks about space and science, and every Monday I'm just like, oh my God, is there a new one? Because you learn amazing things, and then he talks about history and different things. But it's just this great sciencey kind of thing, and it's very, very accessible. It's not dry. Just a very for the people kind of. Maybe he's got that South Node and North Node, ninth house, third house thing.
Wow.
We'll never know.
No, we'll never know.
Yeah.
All right, then let's have a look at Saturn in the ninth house. Yeah. I'm suggesting wisdom is earned with time and discipline.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, I don't have this, as we all know, but structured learning, organized, having a plan that you're going to go and you're going to get out of high school, you're going to go and get that degree, then you're going to do 2 years in Cambodia, and then you're going to do this, then you're going to get your master's, then you're going to XYZ and go to the Arctic, or whatever it is. So there's structure to where you're going.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. They are aware of the education system from top to bottom, and this kind of thing, which is a mystery to me.
Yeah.
But
like I always say to my mother, who's getting her PhD, better you than me.
It's
when she tells me better assignments, I'm like, that sounds awful.
Yeah. So, and this is someone that respects traditions and the laws that guide society. So, again, Saturn in the ninth house. So, and I don't know what else to say about this. It's just that if you've got it natally, that's one thing. If you've got it transiting, which is my nemesis at the moment, this is when you start further education. Yeah.
Start learning Arabic on your own.
You do. And other things on the side that I don't know why I took them all on. Anyway, we'll get there. Yeah. Okay, so then Uranus in the ninth house. So I'm suggesting breaks boundaries to discover new beliefs. So this is, well, of course, Uranus is the agitator in the streets with his gun, and we're going to bring down the government.
By any means necessary.
And it can be a gentle rebellion, or it can escalate clearly into all sorts of situations. Yes. A strong drive for freedom that shape their belief. So the belief, which is the thing, could, and that goes to the religion, could be the driving force for why they're going to create civil unrest.
Yeah.
So, and then of course learning in unexpected ways through innovation while breaking the mold. So
yeah,
tricky one. I think it can be a person who is an agitator, what they call a disruptor.
Yeah, disruptor.
Who, and you can use that in any term you like, but it tends to be that sort of thing, going against whatever's going on and not exploring alternative views to discover new beliefs.
Yeah.
So,
and then bringing those beliefs, because you don't want to keep silent if you have things in the ninth house. You're generally going to want to share them and disseminate them and publish them and preach them.
Yeah, so maybe this would be these astronaut people as well who are going to places beyond, what's the saying?
Yeah.
To go where no man has gone before and all that stuff.
Totally. Yeah.
Struggling here with my quotes, Arwynne.
No, it's true. It's true, because we have a wonderful Canadian astronaut who actually sang Rocket Man, Chris Hadfield. He sang Rocket Man, to the world from the space station.
Yeah.
And that's
Hadfield.
What he has in the ninth house. But
maybe we can check out his chart. I'll make a note of that one.
Yeah.
I'll have a look at his chart, and maybe we could see it in the add it to the show notes.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, then Neptune in the ninth house. Faith is found through dreams and visions.
Yeah.
So this is the place of your visions, and it can also be places where you have trance-like visions, or what was it called, the Oracle of Delphi?
Yeah, going into a trance and having visions, and there were apparently these crevices in the rocks at Delphi where they don't have them anymore, but they have postulated that at the time there were these crevices that were billowing some kind of mineral brew from underneath the earth that was actually getting them high. Yes. They weren't actually necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, they were probably doing some kind of hallucinogenic wine and mixed with mushrooms or something like that. They've now found actual evidence of this. But the oracles at Delphi, they actually sat over these molten crevices that were spewing smoke out of the earth. Yeah, I mean, who knows where these visions came from, but that's
Neptune in the ninth house, right?
Yeah, that's fascinating. I love that image. I need to draw that one of these days.
You do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then with Pluto in the ninth house, unearths truth in the shadows of knowledge. And what I'm trying to say here is that although people might say, I don't know, carbs make you fat, they're going in and saying, but the real truth behind that is that it's the way it breaks down into glycogen and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And that's the shadow behind it. So they're going, although the billboard might say, I'm struggling here for some examples, God saves, they will go in and say, why? Mm-hmm. And within the shadow of whatever the main thing is, they will say, but this is the truth.
Yeah.
And it's here. And they're not telling you that, but that's why this is happening.
Yeah.
We've all kind of had it,
Totally.
What do they say?
Who disrupts the natural, not the natural order, but the establishment order
of things we're being told.
The dogma.
Yes, you have to go and work a 9 to 5 and then all will be well.
Right.
And they go into the shadows to find that the core of that is.
Yeah.
They want you to toe the line. Yeah. Mm. So, and not that I know anyone with Pluto in the ninth house, but these are definitely people who are going to dig out the why behind unearth the background to knowledge of what's. And I'm thinking of these Nobel Prize winners who win prizes for things you've never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone has to explain it to us what the guy just did.
Yeah.
But he's in the shadows, but we say, oh, is that what he did?
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally. Because it's been, maybe percolating behind the scenes and they've had like peer-reviewed papers about it. And then they finally come out and they're saying, hey, this guy discovered this amazing thing. CRISPR, for example, comes out. I mean, that's been a little while ago now, but yeah, like no one knew about CRISPR before. And now there's like gene editing programs and people can do all this crazy experimentation and they're finding cures for things. And oh my gosh, now they can plug in all these things into AI, ChatGPT or whatever, and they're starting to come up with, potential cures for things because they're able to.
It's very clever, isn't it?
Oh my gosh!
It's very clever. Very
Totally
knowledgeable.
Totally on board. Yeah.
Very knowledgeable now. But recently we had that guy, that Japanese chap who got the Nobel Prize for discovering autophagy.
Yeah.
Which is, and this is what I'm saying, that he won it for autophagy, and we're all saying, what the heck is that? And then someone explains it, but he's in the shadows of the knowledge. That's what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah. And just in case anyone's wondering what autophagy is.
Yes.
It is the consumption of the body's own tissue as a metabolic process occurring in starvation and certain diseases.
Yeah. So this is why keto works. But that's why keto works, whereas we're being sold, do keto.
Yeah.
This is why. Yeah. So anyway, that's the sort of thing I'm talking about there with the Pluto business.
Totally.
I know.
Yeah.
I've got Chiron in the 9th house now, and I'm saying heals others by guiding them towards meaning. Mm-hmm. So this has got to be your teacher, your preacher, your guide. This Chiron in the 9th will be the guru.
Yeah. And I feel like this is someone who learned from their own experience as opposed to just reaching the top of their class in whatever. And what they're learning from their own experience or their own journey, their own, maybe just difficult and hellish journey, through hero's journey. Then they can bring that to educating people and to informing people as opposed to just being at the top of their class. Yeah.
So, a natural healer, I think, as well as that. So, Okay, so having a look at some of the transits, we're just going to talk about a couple of charts here.
Yeah, we're not going to go through all the planetary transits, the planets going through your 9th house, but look at your chart and do a little bi-wheel thing and see where your transits are. And wherever is lighting up your 9th house is where you're shining a light on, the external world and bringing that into yourself, right?
Yeah.
One of the interesting things that I found looking at my mother's chart, for example, and we've talked about how she's gone back to college and she started this educational journey. She went to college back in the day, like when I was a little kid, and then pursued different paths and went into the veterinary arts for a while and had her own ballet studio for a while. But when she went back to college very recently, and that was in 2018, this was probably, I'm looking not at the exact numbers, but looking at her chart, and the 9th house has sort of a split between Capricorn and Aquarius. So Pluto most likely was just crossing into her 9th house when she decided to go back to school.
Yeah.
So that's super fascinating. And now it's in Aquarius, and she has done this hero's journey.
She's gone deep.
Deep learning and deep acquisition of knowledge, and getting on the global stage and bringing all these bits of knowledge together, and being a leader in her class in the Arts and Leadership program. And it's really interesting just to think of what this is a Pluto transit does when Pluto shines a light on the 9th house.
Yes,
for sure. Do you have any?
I do actually. I've got two heavy transits of my 9th house at the moment. I have Neptune in there, and I also have Saturn in there. And we did mention earlier that I started. Well, that was when Saturn moved in. I started learning the Arabic, which is totally nothing I'd ever thought about doing 6 months ago. But sometime last year, I started doing that because for many reasons, and. This year and into the end of last year, I took a couple of 2 writing courses at our local university here, and they were like stretching me beyond my comfort zone, I will tell you, because I had no idea. And then I'm also additionally doing another course through a place in the UK, which I don't want to mention on the podcast, but it's rigorous to say the least. And this is going to be going on for the next probably 18 months. I've been at it now for over a year, and it's totally time consuming. I've had to really dig deep with all this knowledge growth that I've had to take. But normally, prior to these 2 planets moving into my 9th house, I hadn't taken a course since I left school, But this year, last year really, it all began as Neptune and Saturn moved in, and I started doing short courses. I did a short course on when Neptune first went in on anthropology, which was so interesting. But these are things that I've never actually thought about doing up until, 18 months ago. So these transits are definitely, and they're still there as I'm plowing through all of this stuff, trying to juggle everything in my life and thinking, can I fit the podcast in? Oh, I must fit that in. And then I'm thinking, well, I just got to get up an hour earlier because I must get all this stuff done.
Wow.
And it has, particularly the language courses, the grammars, and there were English courses, but there was something else. And
yeah.
I learned things I didn't know I needed to know, let's put it that way. But anyway, these are advanced courses that I'd at a university, which is ninth house, which I'd never, ever done before. So definitely these two particular transits have impacted my life, whereas your everyday Sun, Venus, Mercury is not triggering me at all. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Okay, so we have been looking at the ninth house. We've been looking at the main themes of the ninth house and what type of things are in the ninth house. We've also then considered each of the planets in the ninth house and given some examples from life, which is what we have.
Yeah.
And then we just spoke a little bit about some of the transits that people may have going through their ninth houses at this stage. Yeah. That's great. And I think, too, that the faster moving planets won't necessarily trigger your ninth house every time, but the slow ones, such as the Pluto and the Neptune and the Saturn that we spoke about, will.
Totally.
And I have to say that my previous Jupiter transit through the ninth house was the previous to this last one. So quite a few years ago was the first time I actually got paid for an article I wrote for a magazine.
Amazing.
And that was published.
Yeah.
Ninth house. And they actually paid me. And I thought, eureka.
Wow.
So
the bygone days when you could actually get paid for publishing hours.
Yeah, publishing articles in magazines. Yeah. So that was Dell Horoscope back in the day.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah. So, if you've got this far in the episode, well done you. If you found value in this episode, please do consider sharing it with anybody who'd be interested. Make sure that you're getting our newsletter, and you can sign up for that at starzology.com/newsletter. And please make sure that you're following Arwynne, and she can be found at...
I'm at www.misspink.net. That's MSPINK. And I am blogging every Saturday. I send out a newsletter on Saturdays, and it's about art and books and movies and life and politics and nostalgia and a bunch of different stuff. Yeah.
Very interesting indeed, yeah. So, Arwynne, I want to thank you for joining me again for this podcast episode on the ninth house, which has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And thanks so much to our listeners for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.